All right, welcome back to the SilmFilm Script Discussion, Season 3, Episode 4, Part 2. We are kind of making a little progress, a little bit, in our first episode with dwarves. Not only does the Silmarillion have elves, and it has Silmarils, it now has dwarves as well, finally. All right, if we open up in the tag with a scene of Estel, Eladan, and Elra here going into a Dunedain village. Is that the plan?
Yes.
We don't really need to explain that because we kind of talked about that in the last episode.
The whole reason they were trying to get rid of the Orc Scouts was to protect some nearby settlement. So now they're going to go visit the settlement.
Right, since they're there anyway. Do we have a moment, like, before we go in there where one of them is like, are we sure this is a good idea? And Estelle's like, no, it's totally a good idea. Like, do we want one of those, or?
I feel like we just did that with whether or not to let him tag along with tracking the orcs. So we probably don't want to overdo that.
That's fair. Okay.
But at the same time, the whole point of his story this season is kind of giving him agency that he didn't have before, because he was a little kid, and now he's going to be less of a little kid.
Now he's a big kid.
Yeah, pretty much. So he should be trying to call the shots.
Right.
So it is in character for him to make a point of, no, we're going to do it this way. I just don't see any reason why they would be opposed to going into the village.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, it's the type of thing where everyone should kind of be in agreement. There shouldn't be any conflict. So there's no story.
Okay. Right, I'm just trying to make sure they don't push this too far.
Right.
We have to introduce Halbarad. We have to introduce Hamilcar.
Yes, we introduced them both in episode 1, but briefly enough that the audience isn't going to really know who they are or what their role is for the Dunedain.
So we have to get Estel, Eladan, and Elra here into a conversation with Halbarad. It's possible that Hamilcar and Estel get sent out of the room together or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is super annoying for anybody to be like, oh, so we have to talk. So you and you're both strangers, but you're the same age and you're both boys. So I guess you'll find something to do, right?
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Right. How could that possibly not work out the way that it's expected to?
Yeah. No, I think the focus should be on Estel spending time with the Dunedain and setting up his rivalry with Hamilcar. So if we're not going to spend that much time with the frame in this episode, we should make sure we devote most of it to that.
Right. How do you think that we want to wrap up the frame at the end? Because that kind of informs where we go with this first scene.
Right. So the theme of this episode is kind of a first contact sort of thing.
Right.
Of groups that don't know each other meeting and kind of working through their uneasiness to learn to work together.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what's going on with the elves and the dwarves here. So we probably want Estel and Hamilcar to have some sort of truce by the end. Like, they still don't like each other, but like they have to resolve something.
Right. Yeah. And how do we do that without going too far? Is another issue.
Because obviously they have to have a rivalry that's going to continue throughout most of the season. So
now there was some question. Some people were bringing up the fact, the ideas of how much do the Dunedain know about who Estel is.
Right. The short answer is that Halbarad knows exactly who he is.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's no doubts or questions there. Hamilcar does not know.
Yes.
That was also a point, because the reveal to him was going to happen right before his tragic death.
Yes.
Thus, he has to have a reason to resent Estel's treatment by his father. So he has to not know who Estel is to kind of fuel that.
Right. For us to be able to kind of get any kind of to feel any kind of pity for him, to feel any kind of loss at his death, to feel any kind of sympathy for him, it needs to be reasonable for him to feel this way.
Exactly. There's something he doesn't know, which explains how other people are acting, and he resents it because he doesn't know.
Right.
Is the dynamic. As far as the day-to-day among the Dunedain, I mean, I think the older generation has to know.
Yeah. But this is only 10 years ago, too. That's another thing. Like, it's not like...
16.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, however long it's been, it has not been a long time.
No. Okay. Well, yeah. So Aragorn is 2 years old when he goes to Rivendell, and when his father dies, and he's now what, 16 years old?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the.
Yeah, we were aiming for that age group. So that means it's been, like you said, 14 years. It's not that long. And anyone who's visited Rivendell in that time would have met Estel and Gilrain. And again, if they knew who Gilrain was, it's no mystery who her son is.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying, is people who already knew them still know.
Right. So,
but not talking about it is supposed to be normal to protect the secret.
Right. And now the Elegant and Elroy here can kind of like coach him before they walk in and tell him not to tell anybody who his mother is, because that's the dead giveaway. Because the Dunedain don't necessarily all know the name Estel, but they've all got to know the name Gilrain.
Exactly.
So most of them probably have no idea she's even still alive.
Right. Yes, because it is a secret. It's just not a nobody knows secret. It's just
It's the worst kept secret.
So that would be good to kind of set that up, because you wanted to have something before they go into the village, and that would be a thing to talk about, is coaching him. Now, Estel, you're going to meet these people, and here's how you're supposed to act in their village. Don't tell anybody who your mom is. Wait, what?
Yeah. Well, and the given reason is they can tell him that it's to protect her.
Yeah.
Which on some level is true. It's not untrue that that it becoming well known that Gilrain lives at Rivendell would put her in danger.
Right. So they can say something like that, which he doesn't necessarily understand, but goes along with, because he's not going to endanger his mom intentionally.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. And so Hamilcar has to be clueless, and
there could probably be a few older people in the village who have been around long enough to kind of know.
Yeah. Well, especially Estel is showing up with Elladan and Elro here.
Right.
So it's not like a surprise as to where he came from. Like, clearly he came from Rivendell.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Absolutely. So there's people there that know.
Right. And so they might like get wide-eyed when they meet him and be like, oh, and then say nothing else.
Which mystifies him and irritates Hamilcar.
Right. Like, why does everyone think it's such a big deal that some kid stopped by, who...
He's no big deal. Like...
Right. And Estel just had his first encounter with orcs like 5 minutes ago. So if he's...
Hamilcar has probably had several.
Right. But Estel
Hamilcar has probably killed like 3 more orcs than Estel has at this point.
Something like that. Yeah.
But he thinks that that's a big deal. Like, in his head, he's like a
hardened warrior,
a war-weary veteran.
Compared to, So they're both kids. So they're both being dumb about this. But the reason I brought it up is that Estel might have something to say about that. Like, the type of thing when you don't really know how to react to something, so you just start blurting things out randomly.
Yep. I agree.
Kids do that a lot. And I don't know if he should be excited that he killed an orc, or like working off the nerves from it, or upset about it. Like, I don't know where he would even be.
I would say that there is a certain level of excitement in winning a physical altercation.
Sure. It's his first battle, and he more or less...
No matter who you are, but especially if you're as a young man, like that feels like a big deal.
Mhm.
And so when he might even, I don't know that he would necessarily brag about it.
Okay.
But somebody could ask what he's doing here, and he could tell the story and casually drop in the fact that
he killed an orc.
That he killed one of the orcs himself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, not big deal,
Right, but just saying. Yeah. I do feel like that should probably get slipped in there somehow, and it should make him look young and immature to brag about something like that. But at the same time, we don't want him to be obnoxious about it.
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I mean, there's a certain level of that which everybody can kind of relate to. Like, of course you would. Of course you would. Like, and it's funny because we do hold fictional characters to a higher standard than we hold ourselves quite frequently. Like stuff that you're like, oh, that person's obnoxious for doing that. And it's like, you've done that 6 times this week, dude.
Well, for like sitcom kind of shows, you're supposed to look at the characters and say, I'm better than that.
Yeah.
Like that's supposed to be part of your own reaction to the show.
Yes.
This is not a sitcom, so we're not creating intentionally buffoonish characters who do really stupid things. Like that's not the setup here.
But I do think that there will be a comedic element to that. Like I think that's okay. It doesn't. I'm not saying to go over the top with it.
No, and
I'm saying to
comedy's
mute
fine.
Right.
But but when you said about holding to a higher standard, it's like, the way we're writing the show, we're expecting our characters to behave well.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So the question that I have then is, how, if at all, do we resolve this at the end? Like, if we go back into the frame for the tag, how do we resolve this without it being too resolved?
Right. So is there something that Hamilcar could show off to Estel to kind of like make up for Estel's bragging here? Like, could Hamilcar have something or know how to do something or have some skill where he can? I mean,
they could
friendly archery contest. I don't know, like something.
Archery is better than like a spar, because I feel like a sparring match would wind up devolving into a fist fight way too quickly.
Yeah, let's not do that with these two guys yet. Or I mean, knife throwing. I mean, it could be anything that is vaguely related to killing orcs, but not actually.
It could be, or could Hamilcar? I mean, because we haven't talked about Hamilcar's mother at all. Could he have lost his mother?
Oh, but then poor Halbrad's going to be left all by himself. Oh man. I mean, does Hamilcar have like a little sister or a brother or something? Can we leave Halbrad with somebody?
Of course. Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, dead mothers is definitely a theme in Tolkien's work. I mean, there's no reason to think his mother is alive.
The reason that I bring it up is because it's a way to kind of like, first thing, it kind of gives us a reason why he's a bit of a jerk. Like, and it also can come from a place of, look, you don't know what somebody's been through. Like, you don't know when you're making first contact with somebody, when you meet for someone for the first time, you don't know who they are and why they are that way.
So there's new things to find out and some assumptions that are made that turn out to be baseless and all that. I mean, that's fairly normal. So yeah, I do feel like we should learn something about Hamilcar in this episode, other than rival to Estel. Like he should have some character trait or do something on his own that's not just a foil for Estel for later.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So, so a little bit of family background might be helpful, or just learning what his role is among his people. Like, what is his job in life? If he's supposed to be about 20 years old, he's a young man, he could have adult responsibilities ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If Estel feels that his honor has been in some way impugned by the way that Hamilcar's talked to him, he could in some way try to demand satisfaction, and Hamilcar seems like he's unwilling to fulfill that, but it turns out that it's because he has things that he has to do.
Okay. Which would give the audience a little bit more respect for the guy. And would be the kind of misunderstanding you would expect from we just met each other and we don't know anything about how the other person lives. So yeah, I could see that working.
Like if Estel were to try to challenge him to an archery contest or something like that, and Hamilcar is like, I don't have time to play games with you. Like, this is real life.
Right.
But what does he have to do as a young man living in this kind of semi-nomadic existence? What does he have to do that can't wait a couple of hours? Is the problem.
I mean, there's that. All right, I'm trying to think. I can't remember what movie it was, but it was. I remember a scene from something where I think it was 3 young boys, maybe teenager-ish age, and they were. It was either in Alaska or the West. I can't remember what year this was supposed to take place, but whatever. They were doing an archery contest thing, which is why I just remembered the scene. But it's 2 of the boys are doing that, and they kind of like challenge the 3rd one to join them or whatever. Like, oh, and when he shoots the target, he misses the target, and they kind of make fun of him for that until he runs up and gets his arrow, which he had shot a rabbit that was running behind the target. And his point was like, I don't waste time on shooting at targets. I shoot at real things.
Yeah.
So it was I'm experienced and I know how this stuff works. You guys are playing games. Like that was the whole point of that scene.
Right. Yeah.
So we could totally steal that, or make our own. But
I'm trying to think of what else there could be that could be done that way. Well, okay. If he has lost his mother,
okay,
and he has younger siblings, a lot of the responsibility for that falls on him.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he's helping run a household.
Right. Especially if he has a younger sibling who's ill.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just I'm trying to think of something that
I have to go now.
Right. The audience is going to accept that you couldn't do this later.
Right. So yeah, taking care of someone who's sick though, or feeding a child, like that's the kind of thing where of course you have to go do that right away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it also makes his claim of I don't have time to play games with you legitimate.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't have to say it quite that way,
but there really was something more important for him to be doing.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's go with that for now. And if someone thinks of something better, that we can alter it later. But
Yep,
I think that works.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to our main story. And if we open up with Thingol coming with Ael coming before Thingol, do we think that is the sword called Anglakal at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we think that
it shouldn't be made yet?
Yeah, that was my thinking as well. That I was going to ask if we thought that had been made yet.
I would say no.
Okay, so then, what is it that he's there to talk to him about? Do you think?
Okay, so he wants Nan Elmoth, and Thingol's going to tell him no at this point.
Yes.
So like, Ael's mini plot for season 3 is going to be how Ael obtained Nan Elmoth. Like,
right.
That's kind of what's happening here, and so we tie in the dwarves to it because that's how he develops his skills. But so I think we need to introduce that he wants Nan Elmoth now, and that Thingol is at least not terribly inclined to give it to him.
He's disinclined to acquiesce to his request.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if we go to, so we get a meeting where it is expressed that that he wants it. Thingol doesn't want to give it to him. Maybe he says he'll think about it, and Melian advises him against it. Because she's got to feel like a creepy vibe off of this dude.
Right. It's possible that Thingol doesn't flat out say no.
Right.
But says something along the lines of, that's part of my realm, so if you were to move there, you would be my subject, and you'd have to, give your obedience to me.
Right.
Which Ael is clearly not thrilled with.
Nope.
So I think it could be like that kind of power play instead of nah, I don't think I should give you that forest, but like, that's in my realm. I'm the king. Yeah. I know you're not one of my people, so if you move there, you'd have to acknowledge me as king.
Yes. Okay. All right. So what do we see as the main conflict of this episode?
The dwarf stuff.
Yeah, I get that. But like, is it just like, is there some kind of misunderstanding that takes place here?
Well, when the elves first meet the dwarves, they don't even know if the dwarves are good guys or not.
Yeah.
And they don't know where they live or what they're doing or why they're here. Like, they really know nothing. So they're starting from scratch. And by the end of the episode, there should be some kind of understanding between the King of Belagast and Thingol. So we have a lot of work to do to get to that point.
Right. So Menegroth is going to be established the episode after this. This episode, we're just
meeting the dwarves.
Okay. How are we going to establish that that it was the dwarves that Ael was meeting with in the episode before?
He would have to meet with them again in this episode, and we actually see them.
Right.
So if we're going to have Ael in the beginning of this episode, at some point later on, we're going to have to see him interacting with dwarves again.
Okay.
Because if he doesn't have Nan Elmoth yet, he doesn't really have a place to live. So possibly he's staying with the dwarves.
Yeah.
So we might even get to see one of the dwarf cities if Ale is there.
Okay.
Although it's
All right.
also possible that if we want the dwarves to stay somewhat mysterious, that we wouldn't want to show off one of the cities yet. It's the type of thing of we're introducing them, so we want to see who they are, but
Yeah.
we don't want to give everything away because dwarves are secretive. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of feel like we should show one of their cities though, just because like how else do you tell the audience that dwarves live in the mountains?
Well, I think that we're going to be spending more time than a lot of people think with the dwarves in seasons 4 and 5. If I
Yes,
have my way.
the question is, what do we show up front about them?
Right. Okay, why don't we take a break? If you're watching us live, definitely hang in there. We'll be there in a second. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, definitely like and share the videos. If you like and want to share them, check out the links below where you can get information on the SilmFilm project, on Mythgard Academy and Signum University and the Tolkien Professor and all of this stuff. Check that all out. And definitely subscribe so you can get this delightful content delivered right to your phone, tablet, or computer every time it comes out. It's awesome. Anyway, we'll be back in a minute.